So good afternoon. I'm Teresa Raimondo, and as president of the Western Sonoma County Historical Society, I'm very pleased and proud to be here this afternoon at this very special dedication. I'm here just to introduce the dignitaries that we have for today, but I would like to welcome 5th District Supervisor Linda Hopkins. If I didn't see, I'm going to welcome John Woolley from the Odd Fellows Hall. John, thank you so much for this building. It's a lot of history. Donna Roper and Linda Rosen from the League of Women Voters. Thank you. The Commission on the Status of Women, Jan Blaylock and Joanne Brown. Yay. They are. National Organization Women. Right here. There you go. Oh, Michael Karnacki, the president of the Downtown Association here in town. Michael, good to see you. And I think Phyllis Rogers is here from the Seroptimus International. And several others. And I also want to thank our board members from the WSCHS who could make it today. Thank you all for being here and supporting these efforts. If not for the dedication of these kind of moments in history, it would just not be possible. And I say that from the bottom of my heart. So please welcome our enthusiastic former history teacher and lifetime resident and my big sister, Museum Director Donna Pittman.
Yeah, she had to be nice. But I do know that today I have the distinct pleasure of reading from 2 letters from prestigious organizations that honor and congratulate us on what we're about to do today. The first letter is from the National Collaborative for Women's History Sites, and they basically say, congratulations on the dedication of the marker for Helen Herbert and Elizabeth Upton Yates, and a heartfelt thanks to all of those who made it possible. And now from the Pomeroy, the William G. Pomeroy Foundation. I get goosebumps, and I'd like to read a couple of paragraphs by way of introducing Mary Dodgen and bringing us to the unveiling. We commend your efforts to celebrate women's suffrage history and send our appreciation to the Western Sonoma County Historical Society, the City of Sebastopol, the Sonoma County Commission on the Status of Women, West County Museum, the League of Women Voters, and our National Votes for Women Trail partner, the National Collaborative for Women's History Sites, as well as those who are involved in obtaining the marker unveiled today. The Pomeroy Foundation is proud to help you preserve and commemorate your community's history. We know this historical marker for Hurlbut and Upham's event to Jensen Hall will ensure California's pioneering women's suffrage history will be celebrated for generations to come. From all our dedicated staff and trustees at the Pomeroy Foundation, congratulations. Yes. Now for the unveiling, I'm really happy to introduce Mary Dodgen. Research and efforts have brought us here today. Mary?
So we're just going to unveil the marker now, and then I'm just going to tell a little bit about what the marker says. I would like to have a virtual or in person. Yay! Go! Good job.
Thank you so much. Amendment. Kind of short. Votes for women suffragists Helen Herbert of California and Elizabeth Upton Yates of Maine spoke here, the former Jansen's Hall, for the 1896 suffrage
Very nice.
Cheers. So, I just want to tell a little bit about this marker and what they're talking about. I'm going to start at the bottom because when I originally applied for this application, I was applying for Jensen's Hall, which is the building directly behind us. Okay, so that was my goal, was to get the building recognized. Well, in order to do that, I had to show them proof of suffrage activities that took place there. And these two women that are on the marker happen to be mentioned because they took participation in suffrage activity here. So just so you know that this building was purchased by Adelaide Jansen in 1885, and she sold it in 1902 to the Oddfellows, and they have owned the building since then. There's been some remodeling done on a couple of occasions. In 1895, a year before this plaque took place, 1896, she added a second story. So that's why it looks a little different from the photograph that's on the table as a single story, and then it became two-story. So in 1896, this marker is all about that year because this was a really important year for politics. And in California, there was going to be an election, political election taking place, and powers that be, Susan B. Anthony and Anna Shaw, wanted to get California the vote for women. And the reason they wanted this was because it would be a good influence for the states around them who hadn't gotten the vote yet, and also to show the East Coast that it is important that they should do it also. So, Susan B. Anthony and Anna Shaw organized a huge campaign in California. It included 57 counties. So they called in all of their expert speakers to travel around all of California, giving speeches, talking at halls, standing at the top of their cars, along the sidewalks, wherever they could. And so the expert speaker that went to Sonoma County was Elizabeth Upham Yates. So she came from Maine to California to help encourage the votes for women. So each one of these women had a topic that they liked to talk about, and so they would repeat this topic over and over. Wherever they went, they had the same speech. Well, Elizabeth's speech was on the status of women and how women are being considered the same as criminals, lunatics, etc., because they couldn't vote and neither could women. So that was her position. So the other woman on this plaque is Helen Hurlbut, and you probably noticed the name Hurlbut, and it is named after her husband, Dr. Edwin Taft Hurlbut. They lived on Hurlbut Avenue, and it was just known as, go down to Hurlbut's place. So it became Hurlbut Avenue. But before I go into what she was here doing, I wanted to talk about there are so many women and men in this area that helped the suffrage movement. And there were two women specifically that were from Sebastopol that I wanted to mention because they were ardent advocates of the suffrage movement. The first one is Maud Churchman Wheeler, and her great-granddaughter, Brooke O'Connor, just raise your hand, is here. And what she did for the suffrage movement is that she worked closely with the Women's Christian Temperance Union, and she wrote speeches that were presented all along from 1886 to 1912 after the vote was actually won in California. So she wrote 3 papers. I'll just give you the names and you can figure out at what time frame that she wrote them. The first one was called The Bible for Suffrage. Don't know what it was about, but I'm sure it's about the Bible and suffrage. She wrote another one called The Other Side. Then The California Woman's Dream Come True. This must have been after we got the vote. And then the California Voice. Thank you. So she was a very important person in our town. The other woman is Althea Armour, who was a single woman. She was gainfully employed at the Sebastopol Times. She owned 2 pieces of property in Sebastopol. She paid taxes on that property, and she could not vote. So this was her speech that she gave as she traveled around Sebastopol. So now Helen Hurlbut, in 1896, there was a Republican county convention being held in Jansen's Hall. The room was packed with constituents and possible candidates. In fact, one reporter said, if you don't come to this convention, you may very well be appointed or nominated for something.
I love that.
So there were a lot of people there. So when the afternoon break came about and the people were coming back into the building, there was now a large group of women who were present. And they escorted Helen Hurlbut to the podium, which she was given recognition of being there, and she asked the Republican Party to put the women's suffrage question on the ballot. So that was her involvement in this at this building. So a lot of things were used to solidify the argument that this place needed to be observed as a suffrage site. And a lot of it's on the table over there. You may have already seen it. On the table is also a book starting in 1881 to 1901, I believe it is. Anyways, it's a minutes reading book from the Oddfellows, and there is a mention in 1896 that they were invited to attend the Women's Suffrage League's meeting to be held. So that was additional evidence that the Pomeroy Foundation liked, and we were awarded this marker. So because of this Oddfellows book, I wanted to really thank John Woolley for making them available to us. I also wanted to thank the City of Sebastopol for allowing us to put this marker on city property, and the Public Works Department of Sebastopol for installing it. They did a great job. This is a perfect spot. We originally wanted to have it up next to the building, but this is even better because you can read it from both sides, and it's a little more visible. When you go to this QR marker, it'll take you to the Pomeroy website. The society is going to be making our own QR marker that will actually tell you about this process in much more detail. Also wanted to thank the National Collaborative Women History Sites for creating the Votes for Women Trail, and also the William G. Pomeroy Foundation for providing the grant money so that these markers are provided for free. And that we now have the opportunity for sharing history from 1896 suffrage campaign as it happened here in Sebastopol. So it was the road to the 19th Amendment, and I'm glad you're all here to witness the unveiling.
Yeah, are we talking? Yeah. I am so thrilled to be here standing today. You know, in an era when we are actually seeing women's rights being rolled back, and it feels like history sometimes these days is going backwards, I am so inspired by the work of the women to my left and right to stand up and stand proud about our history here, always on the tip of the spear, always at the forefront of leading the charge on women's rights. So,
I like that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I like on the intro
They were going to be here.
Hi, I'm Donna Roper with the League of Women Voters of Sonoma County. On behalf of the League, I want to thank the West County Historical Society for putting in all this extra effort to make sure that this wonderful commemoration happens on the suffragette movement. We appreciate what you have done, and we look forward to working with you in the future.